I grew up in a Catholic family, went to Catholic school my whole life. Um, was a Academics came naturally to me.
I didn't grow up on the wrong side of the streets or anything like that. Grew up in a very loving family, a successful type business family, and
Really, I was a good kid. I was the only child, so I had everything I really needed and everything I wanted. I had great grandparents. I remember when I was a kid, my grandparents would always take me out to go see movies. I mean, I had a perfect childhood, really.
I grew up in a nice home. My parents are still married. I mean, alcohol was always kind of in the background of everything that we did, but I didn't. Life was pretty good. I mean, I went to high school, I went to college and graduated. I had jobs.
I pretty much had what I always, needed or wanted. I was emphatically involved with athletics, from baseball, football, soccer, basketball.
Everything in my life was going well. I graduated from high school, and I was accepted into the University of Texas at Austin. I went there for 4 years, and I did pretty decent.
I was a Nebraska State Senator. I was on national committees, passed 6 of my own laws, and co-sponsored about 10 others. Everything was going for me. I just won the primary election. People suspected I had a problem, but I didn't. Like everybody else, I was the last one to find out.
I was a wife, a stay-at-home mom. I have 3 kids that were very energetic, and I ran them from place to place. You know, the typical housewife.
The best thing I had going for me before addiction started was I was pretty popular in school. Had good grades. I was in a lot of drama, acting, and all that kind of stuff. And I managed to get into college. That was a big deal to me.
At 39 years old, I had just about drank myself out of anything that was worthwhile in life.
A month later, I got arrested for prescription fraud, and that kind of started my spiral. And then I got arrested again, and eventually I had to withdraw from office. A year later, almost exactly a year later, I was living in a homeless shelter. Puzzled. I was like, how do you end up in a homeless shelter when you're a senator? I mean, I knew important people. I was very important.
I started off kind of with prescription drugs and drinking at the same time, and then did marijuana for a while, and then was mixing them all together until I finally found crack, and it just whoosh, like my whole life just went down the tubes.
I started trying other stuff like cocaine, meth, X, prescription, pills, under-the-counter pills, over-the-counter. I overdosed.
I knew inside that something was just totally wrong, and all I could do to cope with that was to drink or use cocaine.
There came a point where I couldn't sleep at night, or I'd wake up during the night, and in the middle of the night, I'd drink. And I did hit rock bottom.
Was even working with alcoholics and addicts in treatment, and then felt that I was somehow exempt from addiction, and was kind of toying with that stuff myself. And I would actually leave sessions and go to my dealer and just feel kind of bad for those people that I was treating, that they couldn't kick their addiction. And then finally got to a point where I couldn't quit myself.
I walked in, and it was just such a sense of home and comfort. You can feel a presence almost immediately when you walk in here. It feels safe and warm, and it feels like a home.
And there, realized there is no way on God's green earth I will ever be able to quit this on my own. So I called my brother John and Stephen Banks and asked them if I could still come in, even though I was high, and they accepted me. And I've been here for 32 days. First time I've been sober for 32 consecutive days since I was 11 years old.
It works. It works. I feel better now than I have in years.
Started trying treatment in 06, tried a lot of different treatment centers, and none of them were like this place.
Nothing but a bunch of smiling faces greeting me, welcoming me in, assuring me that this was a place where I'd find the answers to all my problems.
When I got here, my first thing was to take everybody else's inventory. Look at that guy in that place, and I'm not as bad as, or I'm worse than, and I don't like him and all that. What happened to me was I'd been taking everybody else's inventory and trying to blame everybody else for what was going on in my life my whole life. And they asked me how well that was working, and it wasn't working too good. So the process that they took me through here, well, there was nothing to get here is what I found out. It was a fact-finding mission to get rid of a lot of the crap I wasn't, and who I was started to show up. And so what I say today, I guess 3 years removed from it, is everybody seemed to change. Everyone didn't seem to bug me as bad anymore. And it wasn't them. It was something that had happened to me internal.
I was very fortunate because by the time that I got here, that I got to Bay Area Recovery Center, I realized I had no choice but to try something. Even if this looked like something I didn't want to do, I always said I would never do the way we do recovery here. It turned out to be exactly what I needed to do. It's what worked for me.
And I know this is somewhat an institution, but it's not. It's like no other place I've ever seen with him. And I'm just glad I'm here.
I get to actually show people, be an example of God's grace in AA on a daily basis. And say, there's a way out if you want it. That's the cool part. I actually get to be a demonstration of God in the program. I love that.
The most important thing I got out of Bay Area Recovery is finding out what's wrong with me, why I did what I was doing, learning how to get in touch with God, and helping other people.
This program teaches you to realize that it's all about others, helping others, and finding your own conception of your higher power. It's a real great program. It's changed my life completely around. I'm living happy, joyous, and free.
Like no matter what I've done, no matter what I'm gonna do, if I just take one day at a time, like 24 hours, like what a theory, but it really does work. And so I don't know, and I've just learned to let people in and be real with people.
I've never been happier in my life. I'm 10 months sober, and it's a beautiful thing. I try to, and they showed me how to help others. God made me house manager for 3 months, and He knew that I wasn't very good at helping others. I was good at helping myself. Well, being a house manager is all about getting involved, helping others.
Being sober is just a byproduct of what you get when you're willing to work the steps and take suggestions and ask for help.
I honestly never thought that I could be free of the obsession to drink. I just thought that I would have to live without drinking. I always thought that I'd always think about drinking. And they're telling me here that I'm gonna be free of that. And my gosh, my heart sinks every time I think about that. Because if I can go through my life and not think about drinking, that is my ultimate goal. Because all from that right there will stint for the rest of my life of being a better man. And that is my goal.